Hi everyone, I'm your host Neha and you're tuned into Durian Dreaming, the show that brings you extraordinary stories from seemingly ordinary experiences in Indonesia's fast-paced market. Let's dive into today's conversation with another inspiring guest. Today we have an absolute treat for you because joining us is someone who knows a thing or two about crafting chaos, comedy, and cultural charm. Welcoming Jessie Q. Sutanto. Now, if you haven't already heard of Jessie, and honestly, where have you been? She's the brilliant mind behind Dial A for Aunties, the laugh-out-loud romantic comedy meets murder mystery that's got readers from Jakarta to New York hooked. Think of it as what happens when a wedding, a dead body, and four meddling aunties collide. Trust me, it's pure gold. Jessie is a proud Chinese Indonesian who grew up bouncing between Indonesia, Singapore, and Oxford. Yes, Oxford. And her books are packed with all the warmth, hilarity, and drama you would expect from someone with such a colorful background. Oh, and did I mention she's Netflix famous? That's right. Dial A for Aunties is being adapted into a movie, and we'll definitely ask her what it's like to see her imagination come to life on screen. But that's not all. Jessie's journey isn't just about storytelling. It's about balancing her roots, navigating the global stage, and still staying true to the quirky, lovable chaos of home. She is here today to share her story, her struggles, and maybe even some advice for all you dreamers out there looking to make your mark in Indonesia or anywhere else in the world. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into this conversation with the one and only Jessie Q. Sutanto. Jessie, welcome to Durian Dreaming. We're so thrilled to have you.
Hi, it's so nice to be here.
So, Jessie, you are a global citizen, having lived and studied across Indonesia, Singapore, the UK, and the USA. You're Chinese Indonesian, a descendant of the Chinese diaspora in Indonesia. So, how have all these different cultures influenced your storytelling?
Um, well, I think it's really shaped me as a person. I also lived in California. Like all of these experiences, I feel like I know what it's like to be kind of like an outsider. Um, and so I really poured a lot of that into my books. I think you'll find that a lot of my characters feel like they're kind of like on the outside of the community, and they're kind of grappling with their identities. So yeah, it's been a really beautiful experience that I have loved sharing in my book.
So, your first big hit, the book that set you up on the world stage as an author, was the cultural phenomenon Dial A for Auntie, which has been picked up by Netflix to be made into a show. Now, honestly, I can't wait to see that on the screen. But tell me more about this book. How did it come about?
So Dial A for Aunties is a book about a young woman who accidentally kills her blind date, as you do. And then she has to get the help of her very meddlesome mom and aunts to get rid of the body.
So it has romance, it has mystery, and it's thrilling. How did you decide to blend these genres, and what inspired the story?
hmm So when I first started out writing, I was writing a lot of like more serious stuff, like suspense, very like straight up suspense thrillers. And I remember like my friends who would kind of read the books and critique them. They told me like your characters are not treating the murders seriously enough, so it's unrealistic. And so I kept trying to like make it more realistic. And then I came to like Dial A for Aunties, and I realized like maybe I should go the other way, maybe I should just make it totally humorous and not at all realistic. I should just lean into, the ridiculousness of like the situation and go with that. And that was kind of how I thought, it would be really funny. And because like I grew up with, a really huge family that's like really close knit. Then I just kind of drew from my experience with like my aunties and uncles, who are very, very, very meddlesome. So I kind of just imagine what
Wow.
they would do.
Wow, that sounds like a crazy mashup of romance, comedy, and a murder mystery. And seems like a lot of the characters were inspired by a family that you grew up in.
Oh yeah, I mean like the family, that's, 100% real.
Okay, Jesse, we're going to go back a little bit in time and tell us what inspired you or what motivated you to get into writing.
Sure. So, well, I've always loved reading and writing, but I didn't really get serious about it until after I graduated from college. So I went to Berkeley, and all of my friends, they were very, very bright and very ambitious. And right after finishing their undergrad, they went and they had like these amazing jobs. And meanwhile, I was kind of stuck. I was like, I don't know what to do with my life. And so I thought, oh, I'll do a master's, and I really had no idea what I was going to do a master's degree in. And finally, I decided on creative writing. So I did that. And after I graduated, I was like, ah, well, now I really need to do something with my degree. So since I got a degree in creative writing, I probably should do something with that. So that was kind of how it came about. And, I did a couple other jobs like I tried doing wedding photography and I tried doing, I was working in my family company here in Jakarta for a while. And honestly, I'm just not very good at anything. And so I thought, okay, I need to really stick it out with the writing thing.
That's so refreshing, Jesse. I feel that as a society, we kind of glamorize the person who knows exactly what they want to do from a very young age. Perhaps that was the way in the past when opportunities were so few. But now there's so many interests and opportunities to pursue passion into a reliable career. Sometimes kids just need time to explore themselves and the world to figure out what they really want to do.
Yeah.
So, Dial A for Auntie was the novel that got you fame and fortune. But it wasn't the first one, right? Tell us about the first novel, the first major piece of writing that you tried to publish professionally.
So my first novel, it actually was not published. So I did not get a publishing deal until I had finished writing my eighth novel. And the publishing deal was for my fifth novel because it just took so long, the journey. So my fifth novel was the one that got published, and it's called The Obsession, and it's a young adult suspense. Um, and it's about like a boy who, becomes obsessed with this girl and he starts stalking her, and then she decides to take revenge.
No, wait, hold on. So, you're telling me that your first novel didn't get published? And despite all the rejection and disappointment, you continued writing not just your second novel, but until your eighth novel before you got a yes. Oh, wow. That's an amazing amount of perseverance and determination. I mean, really, that's so inspirational. It reminds me of Robert Bruce and the spider. If at first you don't succeed, try again. So, anyway, tell us more about this journey.
So it was a really long journey. So I after I graduated from my master's program, I was filled with confidence, because it was in Oxford, and I thought, oh, I have a master's degree from Oxford. Publishers are gonna be knocking down my door to publish me. But that did not happen. That was not at all how it went, and it actually took me 10 years after the program to get my first publishing deal. And it was a really horrible time, to be honest. I was depressed for a lot of it because, I feel like when you go to universities like Berkeley and Oxford, you're surrounded by the most brilliant people, right? So all of my friends, I felt like they were doing just the most um, incredible jobs. One of them got a job at the White House. And, I felt aimless. I felt like a failure. I lost a lot of my self-confidence. Um, I didn't have many friends at the time because I just felt so self-conscious about myself. And I just felt like a failure. And especially after I finished my first book, I thought like, oh, this is it. I'm gonna submit it and I'm gonna get a book deal. And then there was nothing but rejection after rejection. And it really made me question myself. So that continued for 8 more books until the fifth one finally sold. So yeah, it was a very low time in my life.
Oh gosh, that must have been a horribly dark period of your life. And not just for a year, but almost 10 years, with each passing year bringing in more disappointment. So, how did you keep going through this? I mean, what kept you motivated to keep writing one after the other without anyone willing to publish it?
Mhm. Um, so there were a few factors. So one was that I made quite a few writing friends online, and it took all of us quite a while to get published. Some of them still haven't gotten published yet. But just kind of going on this journey with other people who completely understand how difficult it is really helped. And the other thing is, I did quit. I remember after I wrote my seventh book, and I had gotten an agent for it, and he was submitting it to publishers, and it was still getting rejected. I kind of lost hope, and I thought, you know what? I've written 7 books. I think this is enough now. So I actually did quit for about a year. And I didn't write, and I was kind of trying to focus on the family company and all that. And then after about a year, I started feeling better, and I thought, like, oh, well, let me go back and see if there are more books inside of me. Let me go try that, give that a go. Um, so yeah, I did take breaks from it. I did give up that one time, and then I came back to it.
Yeah, it's so important to have a community, a close circle of friends. I mean, who can give us the motivation, the perseverance, the hope to kind of muddle along even on our darkest days, who kind of make us feel that it's not all that bad, that better days are around the corner. So tell me about these communities, these platforms that you mentioned.
Yeah, so there are a lot of places actually. So the one that I was on was called Absolute Right Forums, and it was just a forum, like a free forum for writers. But I know now there are a lot of like Reddit has like a forum for writers that's I think is like really huge. And on social media like Twitter, well, now it's X. I don't know how it's doing now, but I used to be on Twitter, and I found a lot of writing friends from there as well. And now I find a lot of writing friends from Instagram. So I think like this is actually the most wonderful time to be a writer, because otherwise it can be such an isolated job. But I feel so connected with the writing community now.
So, do you guys exchange ideas? Do you hear each other about what one is writing on? Or is it a. Because I would expect that the writers wouldn't want to share anything unless it's published.
Right. No, we do share ideas, and I think the longer we work in the industry, the more we realize like having a similar idea actually doesn't matter that much because two people could have like a very similar idea, but then when they actually start writing, it becomes very, very different just because of the natural like personality of the writer.
So, how do you come up with fresh, unique ideas each time you start a new story?
Mhm. Um, so for me, I usually start off with the premise. So like with dial A for Aunties, I the first thing I thought of was, oh, wouldn't it be funny if a bunch of Chinese Indonesian aunties had to bury a dead body or like get rid of a dead body somehow. That was how it kind of came about. Then I worked it out from there, like, oh, who is the dead guy? Like, why is there a dead guy? Like, why are they trying to get rid of it? Why can't they just go to the police? And then from like asking those questions, I come up with the story itself.
So coming back to Dial A for Auntie, and as you mentioned earlier, this is the book that got you fame and has been picked up by Netflix for a show. Now, would you know when can we expect to see it on screen?
Oh, I have no idea. I know that the script is done and it has been accepted, like it's been greenlit by Netflix. So they like the script, which is, thank God. And I think now we're just waiting for it to go into production.
You have any idea who's going to be the star cast?
No, I don't have any idea, but we were talking about like dream casting, and of course, all of the familiar like fan favorites like Michelle Yeoh and Sandra Oh, Ali Wong. We were talking about all of those for the aunties.
Oh, very exciting. I'm sure all of us are looking forward to that. So tell me, with
Yeah.
9 books published now?
I think I have 12.
Jesse, you've been somewhat of a prolific author. Usually, we have this Hollywood inspired image of a writer, who's rather lonely or alone, toiling away and seeking inspiration. But you are a mother. So, what's your writing process like? I mean, how do you balance family life, the demands of being a mother, life itself, and writing?
Mm-hmm. So I've gotten really good at being very disciplined with my writing. So like right now, what I do is I write in the morning up until noon, and then I stop. I don't do the writing past noon. And then I only write from Monday to Friday. So Monday to Friday, each day I try to get 2,000 words, and so I do that for a month, and then at the end of that month, I have 40,000 words, which is like half of a novel. And then when I'm at 40,000 words, I check into a really nice hotel for 3 days, and I finish the rest of the book in those 3 days. Like I just write nonstop for 3 days. And, it's beautiful and wonderful. I'm away from the kids, I don't need to worry about like cooking dinner or whatever for them. I'm just focused solely on the writing, and I finish the rest of the book. So I write really quickly. That's how I can, I write 3 books a year. So, and that's how I do it.
So, for every novel, towards the end of it, when you're writing its ending, you check it into your hotel.
Yes.
Wow, this is exciting.
Yeah.
And it's like a mini staycation, also, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's so beautiful. And, people kept telling me like, oh, you're going to burn out, you're gonna end up just napping at the hotel. And that didn't, the opposite happened. I just felt rejuvenated. I felt like, oh my gosh, I just fed my soul for 3 days because I was doing nothing but focusing on the writing.
Oh, wow. That's a brilliant way to keep yourself from burnout. So, how do you overcome writer's block when you're struggling to think of any creative ideas?
So I would say like the block comes when I am trying to plot the book, right? So like for example, again, like with Dial A for Aunties, I got the initial idea, right? Like I'm like, okay, I know I want meddlesome aunties trying to get rid of a body. And then the block would come when I'm trying to flesh out the story. Like for example, when I was like, okay, so now they're on this amazing private island, they're catering to a wedding. And then what happens next? And then that's when I kind of get blocked because I don't really know how to get from one scene to the next. And so when that happens, I just pace around the house. I pace from the dining room to the living room, and I'm like muttering to myself. I'm like, okay, well, what happens next? And then the most useful question I find that I ask myself is, if this were a movie, what would I want to see happen next? And like kind of thinking of it as a movie really helps me to kind of visualize what could happen next.
And is there any movie which has inspired you and you felt, well, this could be adapted into a novel and would have really turned out to be a great novel?
Mm, such a good question. Gosh, I've never thought that. So, yeah, no, I don't know.
Okay, so what are you currently working on? Are there any new projects or genres that you'd like to explore?
Yeah, so one of my books was really surprisingly successful. It's been more successful than Dial A for Aunties, and it's called Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. So that one, Vera Wong, like it came out and it has steadily gained more and more popularity. And it's about this older woman. She's very lonely. She lives in her tea house in San Francisco. And then one day she comes downstairs and she finds a dead body in the middle of her tea house. And then she's kind of trying to figure out who did it. So it's a cozy mystery genre. And it, because it's done so well, and I've received a lot of messages from people who are like, thank you for writing an older character, and kind of showing that life doesn't stop when you're like past a certain age. And I really love that so much. So right now I'm writing, it's a new book, but it's also an older woman. She's in her 60s, and her husband just announced that he's leaving her for another woman, and so she decides she's gonna win him back by going to culinary school. So it's a really fun story, like no murder this time. It's just like this woman kind of going on a journey and rediscovering herself.
And is that true that this being developed for TV?
Vera Wong, yes. Vera Wong sold to Warner Brothers, and what's most exciting is Oprah and Mindy Kaling are attached to produce it.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah.
This is this is truly
Yeah,
great. I mean,
that was so exciting.
yeah, and congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I really thought after Dial A for Aunties, I was like, nothing will beat Netflix, nothing could be more exciting. And then Vera Wong happened, and I got the email from my film agents. They were like, guess what? Like you'll never guess, Mindy Kaling read it and Oprah read it and they really love it and they want to work on it together. And I was like, so that's crazy.
Oh my God. So how do you like truly feel and when you see your books turned into films or series?
I mean, I don't know because it hasn't happened yet, right? Like they haven't started production. So I haven't even read the script yet for any of them. So I have no idea how that's gonna feel. I hope it feels wonderful and amazing and magical.
Has that somewhere set a benchmark for you internally that now whatever I write needs to be adapted for screen?
I don't know if like I have those expectations because I have had a lot of other books that did not sell the film rights, right? So then, I just never know when something is going to be picked up or something is not. But I think I do have a good feeling about like what would make a good adaptation. Like I just know, like Dial A for Aunties, it's so visual, like a lot of the scenes rely on like physical humor, because they're carting around a dead body, right? So the humor is very physical. So then I just knew like that would make a good show. Whereas like something where a lot of the story is uh happening like in the character's thoughts, then that would make like, probably less chances of it getting picked up.
Jesse, you are based in Indonesia, but you write novels set in different places, like Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murder, which takes place in San Francisco. Now, how do you decide where to set your stories? What's the thought process behind choosing a specific location for a novel?
Yeah, so I set most of my novels in America because I lived there for quite a while.
Mhm.
So I feel very at home there. And also, I'm very aware that most of my readers are in America. So I want to cater to the American audience. Because my biggest publishers are American publishers.
Okay.
And So I set it in San Francisco because when I lived in Berkeley, I used to go to SF all the time. So I'm very familiar with that. So yeah, a lot of my books, I think, will be set in LA and San Francisco, just because I'm like familiar with those areas.
And you write a lot of novels about mystery and murder, the genres that your novels play with. Why do you write a lot about murders and mysteries?
So honestly, that's the easiest thing for a book because you immediately have suspense, right? Like as soon as you have murder, there's definitely suspense. They're like stakes. Your characters are trying to figure out who did it, why it happened, or maybe your character was the one who did it. So then they're trying to cover it up, So it's a very easy tool to build a story around. So I actually find stories like because I've written like rom-coms, I find those harder to write than the murder books. Because in a rom-com, I'm like, well, where are the stakes? What's the worst thing that can happen? Like, how do I make this interesting?
So it sounds like the suspense and murder mystery makes it an instantly engaging framework for you, while rom coms bring different challenges. I mean, it's intriguing how each genre brings out unique aspects of your storytelling. And Jesse, you're also very passionate about women's rights and diversity in publishing.
Mhm.
So, is there any project you worked upon or you're working on which helps in giving chances to the marginalized writers?
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of mentorship programs, where I would take on uh, an unpublished writer and then help edit, suggest edits to their books for them to then like uh, send to agents. I did that, and I'm so happy to say like all of my mentees, they've gone on to find agents, they've gone on to have their books published. So that was like a really rewarding experience. So unfortunately, the programs that I was doing that with, they ended, and so now I'm just waiting for a new program to start up because I really do love mentoring. But I want to do it with like an official program. I don't want to like kind of do it independently on my own. Because those programs had very good guidelines. Like they had a time limit, so you're not mentoring forever. Like you're like mentoring, let's say for like 6 months or something. And then there's like an end um, product, like they have guidelines on what's supposed to happen and things like that.
Okay, and you said that there are these programs. So, who run these programs?
So they were really run by volunteers because they were free programs. So one was called Pitch Wars, and another one was called Author Mentor Match. And everyone was doing it, they were volunteering. None of us were getting paid. People didn't have to pay to enter for the chance to be picked by a mentor. So yeah, now I'm just like on the lookout. I always tell people like, let me know if there's a mentorship program coming up. I would love to join.
Ah, oh, nice. And so now you're waiting for these programs to begin so that new
Mhm.
mentees can sign up, these upcoming
Yes.
authors.
Yeah, exactly. And I always make it clear too, like I will always prioritize women and especially women of color. So, I think white men know not to apply to me.
Actually, that's one similarity that we have seen in your novels as well. Your main characters are women. So why do you
Yeah.
focus mostly on women?
Yeah, so okay, this is another reason why I love writing murder stories because I was reading my favorite genre to read is crime thrillers. And I got so tired of them because the female characters are always just there to be raped and killed, to become victims. And then the male characters will like, get justice for them or whatever. And so now I'm like, no, I want to flip the script and I want the women to do the killing and or the solving of the mysteries, and the men can be the victims. And so yeah, that's one reason for sure why I always write female characters and my female characters will always kill men.
So tell me, what advice would you want to give to our aspiring writers from underrepresented communities, like who are trying to break into this industry?
Hmm, I think I would say so I only really found true success when I reached into my own roots and wrote about like Chinese, Indonesian aunties, Before that, I remember like my first three books, my characters were all white because I just thought, oh, nobody wants to read about people who look like me. And so I was kind of trying to cater to that. And they didn't sell. I'm glad that now that they didn't sell because I wasn't being authentic. So I guess my advice would just be like, stay true to yourself and write what feels true to you.
Okay, that was such an insightful chat, Jessie. I mean, I'm sure your journey, along with your passion for inclusivity, will inspire aspiring writers everywhere. So, thanks for tuning in, and we can't wait to see what's next for you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. That was really fun.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Durian Dreaming. I hope today's discussion sparked some new ideas for you. Don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts, and stay tuned for more exciting stories. Until next time, keep dreaming big.